party with a purpose. It's a mix of ideas and entertainment, but I think the real secret is we make the ideas entertaining and the entertainment is full of ideas.
So, don't walk over there anymore.
Bit of escapism. I mean, my comedy is all about that, really. But sometimes, you know, I mean, it's got to be in the right place. I think Andi, the next comic, she'll do really well because she mixes it up with, you know, there's a lot of social comment in there. And I think she'll be better than okay. She'll be great.
I'm glad it's not just you in the audience. I'm glad there's some like brown faces in the audience as well. Because seeing it just all you, like just a sea of white faces staring at me, it feels like an auction. So it's good.
The show's really about my journey through my relationship with race and culture, my own race and culture. And so it starts off, you know, like growing up as a kid and various experiences and stuff like that, and goes right through to modern times, modern Britain. I mean, I'm not a political comedian really, so it sort of only touches briefly on things. It's really about the funnies, hopefully.
Just sort of waving his hands around in a sort of liberal left white person panic.
I think it's fantastic. As well as being a trade union activist, I'm a performance poet. I'm going to be doing some poetry up there tonight. So actually I'm used to mixing politics and art and putting on events that bring the two together.
Greeted by signs of keep Britain white, we'd come unprepared for a fight. No dogs, no Irish, no blacks. We had to always watch our backs.
And actually more and more organisations, even corporate organisations, bring in poets and musicians to put a message across in a way that's far more entertaining and easier to digest than somebody droning on, you know, for hours with a big long speech.
So I know Doc, I've worked with him a few times. I've worked with Lemn, who's an amazing poet and very funny as well. She's lovely. And yeah, so it's nice, you know, you bump into people all the time, and apart from the regular circuit, you know, you often end up getting asked to do special gigs like tonight.
Such a particular audience of hard-working activists, you know, and when you are telling jokes or reading poems for hard-working activists, you don't know how it's going to go, you know, you really don't know how it's going to go. And if you want to be with anybody, any audience, it's this one.
I'm a rebel. I've always been a rebel. I was born a rebel. Now I am a rebel with a mortgage. A rebel who likes hummus. I made this banner, it took me all night. Integrate is not a northern compliment. And I walked hours, no recognition for what I am, a northern anti-racist. Oh, integrate. Oh.
We are united around the creative artists and ideas which are being promoted in there, and the room is literally heating up.
In the build-up to 2012 for the Olympics, I've been working on this project with the charity Sport England, right? And we've been trying to encourage some of the inner city kids to, you know, broaden their horizons, look into alternative sports to get into for a change, you know, right? So we've been thinking about, like, you've all seen soccer and boxing compete for the #1 sport, keeping kids off the street, but I got something new, something out of the blue that can make a champion out of you and your crew. Now I know you don't want a sport to make you look less hard. Hey, ain't nothing soft about equestrian dressage. Trust me, this is a
Make it pleasurable, make it memorable, make it inspirational, you know, and it breaks my heart really, but much larger organisations don't really grab hold of this idea and run with it.
They do what they say on the tin, you know, which is they are anti-racist, and their money is where their mouths are, and they are active, and they are making a difference.
We need to tell Nick Clegg tripling tuition fees isn't a compromise, it's a sellout of every single principle you and your party ever stood for.
Well, I mean, it's whoever your opponents are when you're on the left, as we are, be they fascists, be they Tories.
What you've got to remember is that in Britain we haven't seen the cuts yet. Nothing's happened yet. What we're going to see is massive cuts happening from April next year. You will see the biggest cuts that we've ever had in this country since 1945, year upon year, for 4 years. And by the time, if George Osborne, David Cameron, Nick Lowles get their way, this country will look so different by 2015 that actually I think it'll be unimaginable for most of us.
PCS has sponsored the event tonight, and we've done that, and we're here because we think it's important, one, to celebrate our successes in combating the far right, but also to reach out to a wider audience who perhaps wouldn't go out to rallies or protests or go and leaflet, you know, in local communities against the far right, but they will come to an event like this, and by coming to an event like this they'll learn something about why we have to combat the far right, the dangers within the far right, and why it's important to stand together.
Lovely, nice, fun, social evening, having great fun, thank you.
And are you glad you came out in the cold for it?
Just!
Yeah, I think because they see a trade unions associated with it and it's an anti-racist campaign, particularly the comics, they say, oh, is this a politically correct crowd? Can I get away with this? Can I get away with that? Well, they get away with it because they're not just doing it for a cheap laugh, you know? They're getting us to learn something, and to learn something, to find it enjoyable, that's what will inspire you to go out and leaflet in Oldham to stop Griffin. That's what will inspire you to go and demonstrate, or whatever is required in Luton to stop the EDL. You know, you have to inspire people, and what a way to inspire people, by giving them pleasure. There's not enough pleasure in left politics. You know, we turn it into a duty.
It's scary hearing about all those cuts and stuff. That was kind of depressing. I was hoping I wouldn't have to go on straight after that discussion. Glad I had a little break there.
It's always difficult to do comedy when it's you know, when it's cold, essentially. You know, you're coming on cold. There's not been any comedy before you.
You hear about cuts from everything. You know, they're going to cut money to youth clubs and stuff. That really gets me down, man. Because I'm a big fan of them. I used to work in them quite a lot, doing my music workshops and stuff.
One of my favourite topics is to take the piss out of liberals, because I don't know any right-wingers. I'm from a liberal background. I hang around with liberals. So if I'm going to take the piss accurately out of anybody, it's going to be them. You know, because we all know how we feel about racists and right-wingers. We hate them. But there's not as much comedy in that, I don't think.
Yes, I think satire sort of gets just under the skin, but doesn't upset people too much. Maybe sort of puts them in touch with what's going on, so they see it in a slightly different way.
I've been watching the street protests with interest the past couple of weeks, you know, because I was very much like that, you know. I wouldn't so much leave my house, you know, but I did very much. I was very anti. Yeah.
Very inspirational, it's fantastic. I think it tells us that we've definitely got hope, haven't we, for the future generation coming through in politics, that they are going to fight, that they are politicised, they do know what their rights are and how to get those rights.
There was something special about the Barking and Dagenham campaign, because not only did we win and did we kind of humiliate and annihilate the BNP, which has led to huge consequences, and you know, the BNP have started to implode as a result, because they invested so much into this, they expected to do so much better than they actually did. But I think it gives us hope that there is, you know, people are interested in politics. People will campaign if they're infused and they feel it's important enough.
I mean, nobody could go away from listening to Doc Brown and Lemn Sissay and Andi Osho and say they haven't learned something tonight, but they've learned something through laughter. You know, and maybe rethinking some of their preconceptions. And there's at least an hour and a half, maybe a couple of hours, for the youngsters to dance anyway.
Merry Hopemas!